Hello, I'm John McAllister with the John McAllister Report. And today, something I've never done before, totally new, and I'm going to make hopefully a great effort to get it done. Before you do listen, please press the like button or the subscribe button on the page and just let me know you care. Okay. The more subscriptions, the better it is for me. Okay. That's a little business right there. Take care of. This is called preseason coverage or whatever. Okay. I would like to take schools and do a little preseason brief, preseason, uh, a preseason outlook. Meet the coach, talk about his team, and also learn some new things about the coach. You know, we really have to get high school football going and make an effort here. I'm going to try and a little bit different for me, but I would really like to have you sit back and enjoy my first show on the preseason is with Larry Cox from Fairborn High School down in the Miami Valley League. Just a lot of them are just north of Dayton area, the northern Dayton area, and competitive league, tough league. And Larry Cox has been a friend of mine for 30 years. I first knew him in the business many years ago. And he was an assistant coach, I think. Then he got the head football job. But I'm really excited for him and his program. So if you'll just sit back and enjoy my first football preseason tab with Larry Cox from Fairborn High School. As I said earlier, my guest today is an old friend of mine. He's been in the business. I looked, he's going to correct me probably, 37, 38 years.
Overall, yeah.
Okay, I've been reading about you. Larry Cox from the Hamilton area. He's now the head coach at Fairborn High School and done a great job. And it's been a little bit of work because I know their program, but when you guys finished last year, Coach? You win 4?
Regular season, we went 4-6. First year I was there, we went 2-8, and then we went 4-6. Qualified for the playoffs for the first time in school history. Yeah. And then this upcoming season will be my 29th as a head coach.
That's right. And 28 as a dad, or 29 as a dad.
29 as a dad too. Yeah. And this will be my first year as grandpa too. So there's, it's the natural evolution of things, but, really, really enjoying that part of it too.
Over the years, and I've known you, but you've stomped on the grapes sometimes and you drank wine sometimes. Okay. You drank a little bit of wine at Lakota West. And I think at Lakota West and then other places where you were, you were at Hamilton as an assistant, and then you were a head coach at Talawanda, and then I know I'm missing one. Fairborn.
After I left Lakota, well, my first stint was 2 years at Bellbrook High School.
That's right.
Then from there, I was 21 at Lakota West. And then I did 2 at Talawanda High School, 1 at Franklin, and the past 2 have been at Fairborn.
Yeah.
And there was a natural fit at Fairborn. Just the community matched. I was a kid that was born and raised in Hamilton, went to Baden High School, but there's so many similarities between Fairborn and Hamilton, and it's really, really neat. And I sort of feel like that was one of those natural fits that you get. And there was a lot of building, and we've got a long ways to go, but man, it's been fun, and the people have been great.
Yeah. Plus, you've got some new facilities to
Oh
brag.
man,
I mean, state of the art stuff. And I told you I have to get down there. I just haven't, I backed way away from the
right.
business, but I will get down and just visit and see the place. But
It's been amazing. The vision that the school board and the administrative teams in the central office had when they put all this together is phenomenal. We had the social justice 7-on-7 that Jim
right,
Place and Al Powell put on, and the coaches that came through were like, there isn't a better venue than this. You know,
right,
we're two field turf fields. We've got a weight room with an indoor, a small indoor. It's a 30-yard indoor, but they're all connected along with locker rooms and everything. You know, they basically said, we're going to go the distance with this.
okay,
And I really feel like, as I tell people, we went from the outhouse to the penthouse.
right.
And, it's really neat, especially at this stage of my career, to be able to have these kind of facilities. It's just phenomenal. And the high school itself is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Fantastic job by the people.
that's real. I followed on Facebook, I think,
Mm.
pictures sometimes. Okay, here's one thing about you, and then that I have seen over the years, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit. You have an amazing ability to connect with kids and build relationships. And that's what it's all about, building relationships. We know, I mean, I've done this for 35 years and I've built a lot of relationships. But I know you do, because I know kids come back, and I've seen kids up at Ohio State practice with you, and it's tight. And what's the key to building a relationship? And then we'll talk about your team a little bit.
Probably the one statement that I've always liked, and I've always sort of been that way, been a relational coach. But I remember this is many, many years ago when Steve Raring, was the first real big time guy I had that goes to Ohio State. And I really got to know Coach Tressel, who I just respect so highly, and I remember him in a coaches meeting saying, they won't care to know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And that really, I think, is the best way that I would describe how I sort of attack it. And I tell my coaches that. And sometimes that's a tough nut to crack, because we ask these kids to do a lot. And in this society now, in this day and age, it's not taboo to be, to say, all right, we're going to be tough and we're going to follow through on things and we're going to do these things. But I think if they know you're in their corner, you got to get into their corner first, and you sort of got to help them through that. Then I think once you clear that hurdle, then you can really have a lot of fun with it, because they know you're there. And I think that's, as I told the coaches that I had at Fairborn when I got there, the first thing I noticed in our first team meeting I ever met them, not one kid held his head up when we were sitting there. And that told me all I needed to know. And I told him, if you call something a dog long enough, it will bark. Yeah. So I said, we're not going to talk that way. We're going to hold standards, and we're going to, there's going to be things that we've got to hold them to. But daggone it, you're going to hug them, love them up, and tell them great things when they do it right.
Yeah. And then that can just start with a smile or a nod.
Yes.
I mean, when I'm just not, and they know what a nod is. They know what a smile is. They know what a thumbs up is. And I think it's easy for me, because I don't have the same pressure, but I really enjoy talking to kids. And I probably relate to the city kids better than the country. I know I do country kids, but it's just the way it is. Okay, let's talk. Go ahead. One more thing.
I just think I watch you with kids and how you connect. One of my coaches on staff, Jared Smith, who played for Roy Toby at Fairborn, he remembers you and speaks so highly of you. He said he really helped me out, and he ended up going to Indiana to play. And Jared said, he goes, tell Coach McAllister I said hello. He goes, he really, really helped me. And Coach Toby had me talk to him. So I think you understand that aspect, because I think you're sort of the same way. You understand you're not going to get the most or the best out of a kid until he really knows you're in his corner.
Yeah.
You
Tell
know,
us about your football team. This is new for me. Tell us about your football team. Give me, like I said, I think you were 4-7 last year, regular.
Well, overall 4-7, because we lost to Northmont in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we returned some good kids off that.
Give me an idea. Let's go 5 kids, 6 kids. Can you?
That's one of those things that's tough. But here's what I would say, because as I tell the kids, we're only going to go. We talked about this today. We're only going to go as far as our leadership allows us to go. I said at bare minimum right now, we're coach led. And I said, that means you're at best 500. Yeah. What I've got to get is some player led, and we're slowly getting there. Yeah. When I look up, we've got some guys that are starting to become that. I would say from our senior class, I got a young man named Jordan Rivers, who I just think the world of. He's a young man. I think he's number 2 in his class. He's a corner. He's a senior, but he's one of those kids that he wouldn't say mud if he's got a mouthful, but because of how he does things, he rubs off on the kids, and now we've got some other kids that, because I'm predominantly on the offensive side, we've got a junior fullback named Zaire Cavett that is really becoming a vocal leader and holding kids to a standard, to say, hey, not good enough. You dropped that pass. That's 10 push-ups. Coaches don't have to do that. And as that's something that I've talked to the kids. On our offensive line, which I always love a leader from the offensive line, just because I think the game hasn't changed in that respect. It's won and lost up front, period, end of discussion. We've got a senior center named Jaden Hall that has really worked hard, and I think he's the young man that is really helping push the line one way or the other, to do some correction. Quarterback is going to be a little bit of a battle. We've got 3 kids that are really fighting for it. I've got a sophomore in Wesley Roller, a junior in Logan Schleeman, and another sophomore that's starting to creep up the ladder is a young man named Rico Smith. And they've done a great job of working it. And as I told them, the most important thing is that the kids believe in how you play and that you're there for them and that they're going to play hard for you. If you get that, the skills will take care of itself. I think our backfield is starting to emerge. Obviously, with Zaire, we've got a senior in Cameron Faircloth that's starting to push. Another senior that has had a decent offseason is Aiden Davis, and he's shown me some things. From the defensive side, and I think defense, I really like our defense right now. I think in years past, we've gotten pushed around, and we've had a pretty good offseason in that respect. I think it starts with our defensive line. We've got a returning junior that started all 10 games as a sophomore named Noah Lowry. And Noah, he'll be one of those guys that the Division IIIs will probably love because he's 5'10", 5'11", maybe 260 pounds, and a wrestler, a heavyweight wrestler. Wow. He's just a tough kid, and he's that anchor in the middle, and he's tough to block. From there, Keyshawn Carter's a returning starter. And again, another good-sized kid, 6'2", 260. So we've got some size up front. In the linebacking core, we've got a returning starter as a junior that started all 10 games as a sophomore, Almari Bird. And Almari, I think, could be a special one. I want him to be a little more vocal, but he's 6'2", 215 pounds right now. He's really, really grown. He's another wrestler. Had a really good season as a wrestler at the 215. Or I'm sorry, no, he was 185.
Okay.
But he's really put weight on, and he's worked hard. In the secondary, I would say again, I talked about Jordan Rivers, Corbin Bush McCoy. I think could be really. He's just going to be a junior too, but he played a lot last year as sophomore. He's long. He's 6'2", 160 pounds, and he's got. I think he's got a chance to really be special beyond high school. And then free safety, I would say right now at this point is a young man. And there's, all this is subject to change because Andrew Wilson is a young man that has really started to grow into the position. We were able to play him a little bit as a sophomore last year on some varsity. But now I think he's really growing into the position. And, like I said, we've got it's neat because our numbers are up. Our first year, I think we had 46 to 48 kids. Last year, we were like at 56 to 58. And this year, we're at 84. Wow. So things are starting to grow. We're getting some position battles. Yeah. And there's going to be some kids that come out of nowhere that you're like, okay, we got pads on. Because as I tell them, you look great in underwear. We call underwear ball helmets only. And I said, I love it. Everybody looks good when you're in shorts and a T-shirt. Yeah. We put shoulder pads on and everything else. Things can change really, really quick. So, but I like this team. I think they've worked hard, and I think they have a chance to build off what we, sort of went to last year. And now, as I told him, the only reason we take that step is leadership.
When I tell you, Coach, you made me think of a joke. When I was a head coach, remember the days when you had no pads, pads, and then contact. No, it was like 4 days, I guess. But yes. On Saturday morning, you put pads on and you cheated a little bit. Other 3 days were hats and maybe shoulder pads. I can't remember. But so you get these kids, and they're good kids. They come out, man, they were like, wow, that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But Saturday, you put the pads on, and in the morning you did a little bit of contact.
Yeah.
On Monday, maybe some of them were going. On Tuesday, they were going.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and you find out, you find out early. That's mean, I guess, but that's the way it was.
But that's part of it. And I talk to the kids about that there's going to be those moments. And again, I think this is where, as I would tell these young coaches, there's going to be those moments of doubt. Yeah. And, you got to help them through that they're, even when they find that job, what they think is their job, when they're 25, 26 years old, and they're going to have those moments of doubt. It doesn't mean you quit your job. It just means you do your job better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing we have to teach these young kids nowadays is that there's going to be moments of doubt, but how you learn to fight through that. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. And I think that's
and then go back to relationships.
Yes.
The stronger relationship you have both ways, you're going to be able to relate and stuff like that. And they may still walk away, but at least you have built that understanding and stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, Coach, I'm going to ask you. That's good. I don't like to get into the returning guys because when I was a junior in high school, I missed that season, okay, because I had a concussion and I missed my junior year. Well, I didn't get any kind of things going on like coming back or looking forward to this guy and all that. I didn't get much of that.
Right.
But I ended up being one of two guys on our team that made all conference. So I'm just telling you, I want to cover it, but not too much.
No, okay. And you get that because you're going to get that senior.
Exactly.
This is my last hurrah. He's really willing to give it his all.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden I told guys, you can't put a price tag. I said, because a sophomore, some of them are 15 years old coming in here, and that senior could be 18 years old. That's a grown man sometimes, and you never know what they turn into.
Well, I had the year we at Lakota up at Northwest Ohio, we had a good team. Well, a senior came out, and none of my coaches wanted him to play. They said, he's not tough enough. He's not this. But I said, no, I like him. And he's played outside linebacker. And, he ended up, I think, getting one of the most valuable players. But, it was just unique. It's not going to, but the other coaches, they could, of course, I'm the head coach. So, who the boss is.
Yeah.
He's not, and they were so critical, but he ended up having a great year. Okay, let's talk about Larry Cox. I have about 5 questions to ask you, okay?
Okay.
You got to learn, Larry. I don't want that silly stuff like your favorite ice cream and all that stuff. Okay, what makes an excellent football player, Coach? What makes an excellent football player?
And an excellent football player, that goes a lot of different ways. But there's one thing that I know, that I would say: attention to detail.
Okay.
Attention to detail. And it's not just about football. It's about every aspect of his life. When he has attention to detail in all areas. And what made me think of that is from my days from Lakota West, kids like Jordan Hicks and Ryan Kelly, their attention to detail in everything they did is why they are where they are. Yeah. That's excellent. Now, just because they're there, that doesn't make them. I had another young man named Alex Savage. His attention to detail is why he's a doctor now. Yeah. Gerald Parker, who was one of my first kids at Lakota West, his attention to detail got him to Georgetown College, won 2 national championships, and is now a municipal court judge in Montgomery County. Yeah. So, to me, the great ones always have attention to detail, and they follow it. And I think that would be the first thing I would think of.
Okay. Number 2, what's the greatest challenge to athletes in today's world?
Parents.
Really?
That's the first thing. That's not a knee-jerk reaction. Parents. I heard a quote. This is probably 3 or 4 years ago. Frank Martin, a basketball coach, I think he's at UMass, and he was at South Carolina at the time.
Yeah.
And he said, a reporter asked him and said, kids aren't as tough as they used to be. Well, kids aren't as tough as they used to be, he said, because of the adults in their life. Oh. Whether it's coaches, teachers, parents, whatever. Right now, I think the biggest thing if the parents trust us as coaches, yeah, and that we want to do what's best for your son, but hold the kids to standards just like we do. Don't allow them to slight themselves. Again, force them for that attention to detail, and don't think, well, it's not a big deal. We'll fight. I've already gotten an email from a parent. We go to vacation on the last week of August. And, I said the last week of August, so that's game 1. Yeah, we'll be out of town. So we're missing school. We're missing school. Okay. Again, that goes back. Yeah. Parents, what are we emphasizing? And I'm not talking emphasizing football. Yeah. I'm emphasizing just do the right thing and your attention to detail and what you got to do. So I think, again, I'll go back. I think parents and that environment that they're in is the biggest reason that I've seen kids also have that success. Yeah, they've got that attention to detail, but to really, really go far, they've got to have that environment that allows them to really grow and become that person.
Okay. The last one. How important is an athlete's image, public image? How important is the public image?
Well, because of all the things that they have, I think it's huge. Yeah. It's harder now. I'm going to say that. Yeah. It is harder to be a kid now than any time. Yeah. Because of all the social, media that there is, Instagram, Snapchat, that, as I tell our kids, think of it as a gun and Snapchat's a bullet. You know, Instagram's a bullet.
Yeah.
All these things are bullets, and you're putting them in a gun every time you post something. And if it's a good thing, don't worry about it. The gun won't go off. But if it's one, you can post 99 good things, but one bad post can be that bullet that shoots you. And the social image is huge, and that's something that we really talk to our kids about. You know, it, like I said, I feel bad for the kids. I can't tell you how many times me and my classmates get together and we say, boy, I'm glad we didn't have those cell phones back that had all those videos. So I really work with our kids.
Well, one story on that, and then we're closing here, but like with bullying, boys or girls, you know, when we were kids, and I'm a few years older than you, but you know, if somebody was bullying you at school, you'd go home and you didn't see them. You get away from them, or you know, living, you know, any place you didn't see them. But now with the media, you can't get on. They're going to get on. You go home and they're going to be on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. So you still have that hassle. I think that's tough.
It is.
Last question.
Okay.
Okay. I lied to you. Okay. What is one question, but I lied to you. What is one talent that you don't have, but you'd like to have, but you'll never get?
Play a musical instrument.
You don't think you'll ever get one?
Well, no, I don't know if I'll ever have that talent. You know, I know I've got a little bit of a genetic gift. My mother was unbelievable pianist, and she wanted so much for her 5 boys to become instrumental. Well, my father the reason I coached was my father, and father raised 5 boys that probably followed him a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a part of me that always wishes I picked up an instrument, you know, because I know there's things that I do pick up musically that comes natural, but I doubt I ever have it.
You know, Coach Cox, you know, as much as I've known you, I really appreciate you doing this. But you can't answer a question with just 1 or 2 sentences, you know? You got to explain the whole thing. That's good.
Never happens. My wife will sit behind me on some interviews, and you know my wife, you said I've kicked my coverage on that one. She'll say, let him talk, Larry. Let him talk. Let him talk.
Coach, thank you very much.
Hey, I appreciate you, John. It's great seeing you. And it does me good to see you because you helped me grow as a coach as well. There's no doubt about that. You know, when 29 years ago, when I became a head coach, I remember slowly growing with you, and I've learned a lot, and I appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you very much.